It's going to go to the body now. The body I've got here, 13.0, I'm going to go and I insert the 8.0. This particular cartridge, the 3.0, which I've got here, is set at the very, very top power level that this so this is a very, very important video, so we suggest you watch it in full. I'll try to make it as entertaining as So in this video, what we're going to talk about, we're going to give you a very good illustration of this particular device. We're going to talk about how to insert the cord, first of all. The major, it's quite easy to actually put it together, but we're going to just go over a few things with you in terms of how to assemble it. It's extremely easy to put the cord at the back, so we're not going to show you that. There's a switch at the back of the device, so we're not going to show you that, but this is extremely easy for you to do. It's actually very intuitive. So we're going to talk about how to insert the cord, how to insert the key to this device. It's very easy. There is extremely easy things to do, but at least we're going to run you through these things, so you may find them easier when you go about doing them. And then we're going to talk about this device very briefly and what is good about this device. We're going to explore all the functions of this device in detail. We're going to give out all the secrets about this device, all of them. So pay attention to this video. We can actually talk about in some detail about what can go wrong in terms of treatments. We're going to explore that in other videos as well. We already explored what can go wrong in other videos and other material online. We're going to do it in this video as well. So repeating the same stuff over and over again is going to be useful. So we're going to talk about that as well. We already talked about how to empty and refill these cartridges and when to do it. So watch that video. Then what we're going to do is do the perspective test on this device, which is quite interesting, and also that gives you an idea of the physics of this particular type of device. So this is a very, very important video, so we suggest you watch it in full. I'll try to make it as entertaining as possible, but it's quite important that you watch it, and if you haven't watched it, watch the video where we refill these cartridges. The refilling these cartridges is routine maintenance, part of the routine maintenance of the device. And yes, that's pretty much it. And we're going to talk about other things about that I haven't mentioned it right now in this video later on. So pay attention to this. This video. So we're going to give a start, and first of all we're going to insert this cord, and we talk about it because it's not always straightforward to do it, but if you just do it for the first time, this could be actually quite useful. So what you do is just try to look for the groove. What you do is just make a slight rotation. Again, I'm just doing a number of times up until you find the right groove, and you do it automatically, so you cannot make a mistake, because the groove makes sure that you attach it properly in the right way, so you cannot make a mistake. Then you actually push it, and then you hear a click. When you hear the click, it means that everything is tight and functioning and it's right. So then, if you haven't done so, you have to insert the key. The key gets inserted here. So there's two, see whether actually you can see it. I'm gonna put it here. There's two USB ports at the front. You put it preferably on the one that has got the USB sign there. So that's what you do. So there's two of them, as you should be able to. So in order to switch on this device, all you have to do is press that green button here. So I've got a cartridge already placed in there, so it's not going to make an annoying sound. What happens is, if you don't have the cartridge, it's going to start making a very annoying sound. I'm going to show you that. It says no transducer on the screen. So all you have to do is just place the transducer in, and it stops the sound. And it recognizes it as a DS10.15. Then you press enter. You can put the patient name, the patient ID, the clinician's name, and you're not going to go through that. It's extremely easy. It's extremely easy, so we're going to skip that. But in this particular video, we're going to talk about the settings of this device, and we're going to first of all talk about why we call it classic Hifu, and then the rest. First of all, it's called classic Hifu because it's one of the easiest Hifu devices there are. If you watched, say for example, the video on the multi-line Hifu, what you'll find is that that device is very useful and is in many ways is more powerful than this because you can deliver many lines in one shot. However, this is the most dynamic one because of the software and the fact that it does recognize the cartridge that you're using, and for every cartridge it gives you an idea where on the face or the part of the body you can apply it. We're going to talk about where you can apply it in detail later on. But this is a 1.5 mil cartridge, and the 1.5 mil means that the depth of ablation is 1.5 mil from the top of the cartridge, so 1.5 mil in. And we're going to show you the test one on a 4.5 on a 3.0 perspex, piece of perspex, so that's going to be quite, you'll understand a bit more of what 1.5, 3.4, 4.5 and so on mean. We've got, basically with this device we've got as a standard 5 cartridges, the 1.5 millimeter, which is the destruction occurs at 1.5 millimeter in depth, the 3.0, which means that destruction occurs at 3.0 millimeter in depth, 4.5 at the destruction occurs at 4.5 millimeters in depth, 8.0, which means that the destruction or the tissue destruction occurs, the ultrasound is focused at 8 millimeters in depth, so the destruction is going to be at 8, and then the 13.0, which means that the destruction is going to be at 8 millimeter in depth. So we're only looking at the moment at the 1.5, and then you can see that it's got 15 there, 15 there, 15 there. So you can treat this part of the face, so the under eye, that part, the temporal, and the temple here, that part of the temple. But also you can actually treat the face in that area as well. That doesn't show you that, but you can. And also around the mouth, as you see it there, gives you a number. That number is the number of shots, the advised number of shots you can actually go through. And then a 76 here, say for example, you can actually shoot pretty much up to 76. Then here, this number here is the total number of shots that is recommended that you do on the face. So you would actually want to do 15, 15, so it's 30, 45, 45 plus 25 is what? I'm not very good at math, well, doing this sort of calculation in my head. It's in the region of what? So it's 80, in the region of, plus 70. 80 plus 70 is 100 and odd. Yes, 100 odd, say 160 roughly. I do apologize, my maths are not good. Then you've got to multiply by 2 because you've got 2 sides of the face. That doesn't match up to the 504. Basically, these numbers is just a rough estimate. So this helps you, say for example, if you press on this, then you'll find that goes into 75. I'll actually do it. Goes into 76 actually. So and then you can count. If I just go and start there and I press here, then you have it, bang, and you count 1 over 76. Then I go there. You've got again to 0. 1 of 15. So you don't need to remember it. Here on this part of the face, you already fired that shot. If you click there, you already know that here, if you look at that number, you already fired one shot, so you don't have to remember it. But this is only for your help. This is why we call it the Hifu Classic. This is why it's very good. There's many things you don't need to remember. The other thing to bear in mind is with the 1.5 is that literally you can actually use the 1.5 on the whole face, on the neck, other than the jawline where the corner of that jawline is just because you're very likely to hit the bone. It's not as if you're going to cause any trouble. There shouldn't be any trouble there, but it's going to be painful for nothing, very likely. But pretty much you can use it on the whole face, other than the upper eyelid area. Never use an Hifu on the upper eyelid area because you're going to cause some deep damage. But this is the safest of the cartridges simply because it goes at 1.5mm in depth. We're going to talk about that in more detail in a while, but I'm just going to change the cartridge now. I'm going to use the let's have a look. The 3.0. I'm going to just show you what the device shows you. So basically, according to the software here, you can still use it on the lower eyelid, almost the lower eyelid area on the temple and above, there on this part of the face here, and the neck as well, but not on the mouth, and that's very good. So. And also, as you can see here, you see this corner where I'm actually talking about that corner here of the jawline. This jawline where you can actually touch the bone at that corner, as you can see, is avoided, and you should avoid it as well. Now, another point here before we go into the 4.5. Actually, we'll put the 4.5 on, and then we're going to talk about this. Although we talked about this in detail in other videos, I was about to escape. In other videos, is that, say for example, if we've got a 4.5, it tells you to use it here. You can actually see it there, on that part of the face, and there, which you can, but avoids all that area and everywhere else. The reason is a 4.5mm in depth is quite deep, and then what you actually feel, say for example, when I've had it done, I could actually feel it in my teeth, literally, because there's a certain resonance with your teeth. That is something that happens very often, but it's nothing to get worried about. But it goes quite deep. So if you go quite deep in this area where the skin is quite thin, usually, things change from person to person, but usually, then you can actually go into the bone and it can be painful for nothing. Whereas in this area where the skin is quite thick, you can get away with it as well as that part of the neck. Now, we're going to talk about this in this video in a certain amount of detail, but there's more videos where we talked about it. We're never to actually use the 4.5 is in that area here where the marginal nerve, mandibular marginal nerve, pardon me if I just don't remember the name, I think it's called mandibular marginal nerve, goes up, is because when something has been reported, I'm talking about this because it's been reported as a problem. When a 4.5 over 3.0 has been applied here in that area here, there's been some damage to the mandibular marginal nerve, and that's caused mouth drooping. As we talked about in other videos and elsewhere on our websites, this is generally a problem that goes away with time because it's not, the Hifu does not usually cause a complete truncation of the nerve due to its physics. However, it's something they should avoid. So always remember not to treat that area. If you can, even with the 1.5. So this area, never, if you can avoid it. And obviously that area here of that corner of that jawline, the cartilage here on the Adam apple, here on the beneath the Adam apple where you've got a very important gland. So when you see the Adam apple, avoid it and down. Don't do it on that area of the neck here, where you've got all these cartilages there. Never, ever, ever, if you can avoid it, avoid it. So go only on this part if you can, and especially on the neck, just go very, very slow, even with a 4.5 here on this part of the face. So if you just stick to this, you should be fine, but especially be careful on this part of the face. Another important point to make is that although you've got this, things change from person to person, because say for example in my case, I'm an athletic type, I'm very slim, so there's not a lot of fat on my face, on my skin. So generally a 4.5 is quite a deep treatment for me. Also on this area, because I haven't got much fat going on for myself. But somebody who's quite overweight, you can actually, you may get away with being less careful, so to speak, because there's a lot of fat to protect the vital part of the face. So that's a very, very important thing. So be more careful as the person who you're treating is thin. The thinner they are, the more careful you should be. That's an important part of this particular face treatment. So look, if I forget anything else, pretty much I think that I've talked about almost everything here. Then we're going to go and do the test on the cartridges, on the perspex. Before we do that, so it's very important that we realize that this device is very good because the software helps us a lot. So for example, we click on the here on 31, we've got number of shots, total of 31. So you know that in this area, which you can mark on a pencil, you can actually fire it 31 times or more, or less if you want. So if I fire it now, bang, it goes to 1, and then you can reset it if you please, if you want. Then if I click on that area, for example, it's getting to 0 because I haven't actually fired anything. I just go and fire it again, and it counts. If I go back in there, it's got 1, I just fire it again, it's got 2, and I click here, still 1 because I only fired a total of 1, whereas here it's 2. And it does remember it, so it's quite useful. So it's the classic because it helps you a lot software-wise, so you don't have to remember many things. So it helps you a lot that way. So one of the common questions that we've got is, how many shots do I have to fire? There the answer, you have it. If you just stick to that, you have an idea. And yes, that's pretty much it for this. So it's going to go to the body. It's going to go to the body now. The body I've got here, 13.0. I'm going to go and I insert the 8.0. And so I've just inserted the 8.0 here, and you see where allows you to actually do the treatment. Is to say the underarm, belly area, and the inner thighs and the outer thighs. An important point which we're going to go into consultation when we do when you watch the video on the consultation is that people, if you find somebody who's very thin and athletic, normally even on this part of their thighs, there's very little fat to go around. So you may even want to use a 4.5 mil if they really demand such a treatment. Because say for example, if you look at my case, some as athletic as I am, there's actually no fat on my upper legs, so there's not much to go around. And if you just do a 13.0, you go straight into my muscles. There's really no helping anything whatsoever. So whereas this treatment on this part of the body could be more useful on people that are overweight. and it's because it can give them some skin toning by destroying the fat cells and so on, and because you don't go into the muscle area. Because if you just go and destroy muscles, you don't really do much. But if you go into target the adipose tissue, the adipose tissue, then when you treat it, after you treat it, then it can actually cause some skin contraction and some skin rejuvenation. Whereas if you just go and fire into the muscle, there's not much you're doing to the skin. So again, the point I'm trying to make here is that although this is in the software, you've got to use a bit, especially on body treatments, you've got to assess what the person is like. If that skin on this area has got fat or not. If it hasn't got fat, then just use, if they really demand it, a 4.5 millimeter or a 3.0 in there. The belly area is a different type of thing, because the belly, pretty much almost everybody has got loads of fat stored in there. So you can actually go with a 8.0 or a 13.0. This area again, so again, the belly area is quite safe with these cartridges, even the 13.0, in almost all cases. Almost all cases. Extreme cases where they're anorexic, we wouldn't actually advise you to use it. That area, this area here, that area. Say for example, a person like me hasn't got any fat whatsoever, whereas somebody, an average person, an average female normally stores a bit of fat in that area, so you can actually go and treat that area as well. And then it gives you the total number of shots. In this case, it doesn't tell you what number of shots you've got to do per area. We're going to talk about it later on, but if you have an idea of 500 shots per area, you've got an idea of what you can actually fire per treatment. The more you fire, the more intense the treatment, the better. Now, the other thing that we're going to talk about right now, before we're going to go and show you some more settings, is the power setting of this device. So let's go here, and I'm going to press on this long. What you've got here is the advanced power setting for this device. It's a secret tool, it's a secret weapon, so to speak. And I've already got it preset at the 3.0 and a 4.5 plus 50%. What that means really is that the power is upped by 50% from a normal threshold. I'm going to put it as 0. Put it again as 0. I'm going to go return. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to insert the 3.0 instead. See whether I've got the 3.0 just for the sake of it, because it's one of the most used cartridges. Now, and I'm going to press this again. Now, as you see, it does remember it. It will remember the settings. And I'm going to up it to 50% for one simple reason, and I'm going to do the same for a 4.5. So I may do the cartridge test to show you in this video. So basically what I'm doing there, when I go there, is the following. I'm actually changing the power setting of this device to the very maximum. Now, you don't normally go into that power setting. What you normally do is, let's have a look. That's the distance. You see this distance here? Is 1.0 is the distance between the dots. We're going to show you the dots in a minute. And you can change it from 1.0 to 1.6 with a 3.0 cartridge. So look. And then I'm going to light up the screen a bit more. This is kind of useful. And then where you normally change the power setting is here. The energy is here. At the moment is 0.75 joules. Now the point for me to actually show you this is so that you hopefully you do understand the basic gist of this software and the power settings. So 0.75 joules, the joules is a measurement for energy, not for power, for energy. And it's not an accurate number. It's not as if we can actually physically go and measure these joules. So you can take it as an indicative number. It's not joules as the real joules in energy. It's not that. It's just an indicative number. So this is very, very important. Now, so what I'm trying to do is explain the power settings, the advanced power settings. Let's say at the moment I've got it at top power setting here, at top power. All I know is that this is a top power. But then, if I want to even upper that top power, I go there. At the moment it's 5 plus 50%, put a 0. So I've got 0.75 joules, which is the maximum. I just go into the advanced. This is 3.0. So I want to up it, that top power, by 50%. Now it's 50% stronger. So that top power is 50% stronger. That means that at the moment, this particular cartridge, the 3.0, which I've got here, is set at the very, very top power level that this device can actually deliver. And I'm going to do it on purpose so that we can show the very, very best dents on the cartridge in our cartridge test. Now, then, just to explain again this advanced power setting, say for example, if I want to down it by half, then I go to minus 50%. So the energy delivered there is 100% is actually halved. It's 100% less. So it's not exactly 100% less, but it's just much, much less. So this number is an indication. But you can actually play with that power setting even further. And then when you start playing with it, you'll understand the power of this device. Talk about the power of this device. Basically, if you have it set at a maximum, I can go a maximum power setting as it is now, and even if you say, for example, you get this as 0%, which is the normal setting of this device, if you do it on the face, it's extremely painful and not many people can tolerate it. There's some people who can tolerate it. And then if you actually set it at maximum, if I go into the maximum there, on that maximum power setting, and I even up the setting, the advanced setting, to 50%, basically you can only do this treatment by using topical anesthetics. There's two ways of doing the face treatment and the body treatment. One is by using topical anesthetics and really going really hard on it. We advise nobody to do it. Simply because, as you'll see in the cartridge test, the power of this device is amazing. It can bend perspex. And if it can bend perspex, it does destroy tissue, especially at the top power level. So if you use it with anesthetics, what's been found is that after treatment, normally people have bruising and, say for example, that problem about the marginal mandibular nerve, which causes the partial paralysis of the mouth. That can happen, especially if you use anesthetics, because the power is intense, and what the energy, the ultrasonic energy finds, it destroys, has no mercy. The other way is to set the power level right for that treatment is not to use any anesthetics whatsoever, and start from the lowest power setting that you find here. You go to the lowest here, and then if you have it upped it by 50%, then very likely even that is not tolerable. So you have to go into the advanced setting and make it a 0 or even less. It depends on how you want to operate the device. But we suggest that you start at the lowest power setting, and then you up it here, you up it there, and then you make it as strong as the client can possibly tolerate it. that's the best way that we advise you to use the device at. So, and when the client can tolerate it, see whether I can change the, so basically you start, repeating it again, which is quite important, you start it at the lowest power setting, you ask the client, as you'll see in the other videos, whether they tolerate it or not, whether they feel anything, and they don't feel anything, you increase it up until they can feel it. Now, the other thing is, using the same cartridge, as you'll find in the training videos that we're going to show you, you can actually view in our channel, is that at the same power level, if you change the area, some areas can tolerate it more than others. So even when you do the treatment on using the same power setting, then you have to change, you may need to change the power setting at this level. So always keep an eye on the pain threshold of your client. Very, very important, Matt. That is very important. So now we're going to go onto the cartridge, onto the Perspex test shortly. But first of all, what I'd like to do is show you this other function here. So we're going to go into this is the other function here is here. So you see here, the distance is 1.0, and you can change, so this is the distance between the dots. Basically, as you'll see in the test, the device, if it's set a maximum length, which is the length is from here to there is 25 millimeters, and then it fires a number of shots. So the distance between the shots at the moment is one millimeter. So after it fires a shot, goes over 1 millimeter, and it fires another, and so on and so on and so on, up until it reaches 25 millimeters. But I can actually make the shots a bit wider, 1.6 up to 1.6. So it fires the first shot here, and then goes over 1.6 millimeter. It fires another shot, and then it goes over another 1.6 millimeter. It fires another shot, goes over another 1.6 millimeter, fires another shot, and so on up to the 25 millimeter. Now you can also change this length here. The maximum from here to here is 25 millimeters, and you can change it here in the length, and you can change it to the minimum of 5 millimeter. So it goes pop, pop, pop up to 5. So you've got a length of maximum 5 millimeters if you want. Or you can make it to 10 and so on, 11, whatever. And as we will see, this is seldom used. This is a function seldom used. We advise you to use the maximum length and the minimum distance between the shots. But there is one instance where you may want to use this reduction in line. It's basically in the 3.0 cartridge. As you'll see, I've got this 3 parts of this face. So basically it's 25, there's 25, and this is sometimes according to the size of the face. That could be 10, it could be 25, it could be 20, or whatever. So basically you may want to adjust this at this in this area. You may want to or may not. Now, this type of treatment is not an exact science in terms of when you go and do the treatment, even if you go over the same area again with the same cartridge at the same depth, you do not cause any damage. That is, you do not cause any harm. So you only cause extra collagen destruction, which produces the collagen to regenerate anyway. So when I say it's not exact science, is that when you mark the face, if you want to mark it with a pencil, you may choose to do it or not. We think people mark it especially to make the treatment more appealing to the customer. However, you may not want to do it if you want to save time. It's because even if you go with the same cartridge over the same area, accidentally or not, over again, you're not causing essentially any risk to that client, because you go over the same area twice or 3 times. But if you want to do it so that is quite professional, though, then you mark the area, and as you'll find, is when you mark it, some areas are not big enough, so you may want to use this reduction in length here in order to cover it, so to speak, perfectly. But even if you don't, it does not really matter. So we talked about that. See what else. I think that's pretty much it. Elastic. Okay. Oh yes. Another very important point is, before we go to the cartridge test, is that we haven't actually made a video yet on the difference between the various types of Hifus. The classic Hifu is a professional Hifu. Professional Hifu means that the destruction is quite brutal. And the destruction in tissue is quite brutal, and we'll see it on the cartridge. Actually, we've actually done a test before, and actually you can see it. This is what happens to a cartridge. To a perspex test, to a piece of perspex, actually makes dents to the perspex. And if it does that, you can imagine what sort of damage it does into your skin. And it is almost as if you're actually firing a Q-switch laser. As I say, the energy, the energy is extremely violent, only for a small duration of time. It's like you're actually firing an elastic band. When it hits for a very, very short period of time, but it delivers a lot of energy. When you get an elastic band fired at you from a distance, you feel it. It's quite painful. It's because of that energy is quite high for a very short period of time. And this is what happens. It's as if that energy is fired, is actually fired for a very short period of time. It's very intense and it's very destructive. It only lasts a very, very short period of time. And this is done in the Hifu professionals. There are other types of Hifus where the energy, the ultrasonic energy, is focused in the same manner, 3.5, 3, 4.0, 4.5, and so on. But the energy is not fired violently in a very short duration of time, and it cannot bend perspex. It cannot actually cause dents to the perspex as this does. See where I can actually show you again. Yeah. So this perspex has been dented by this device. It cannot do that, but it can actually cause the perspex to be heated up. We'll make a video on that later on. But this is a very, very important part of this video, so it actually shows you the power of this. But now let's go and make that test, see whether I find the other, the 3.0, because I've got the 3.0 here. I'd like to do the test with the 3.0. Now we've got the perspex here. I think there's a 4. So look. Yeah, that's a 3. Beautiful. We've got the 3. Got the 3 there. This is the 3. There's the 3 here. I recognize it. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the cartridge test. First of all, when you get the device, you get also the perspex test. You have to first of all take off the film, protective film. So I can show it here. Yeah, take it off. Both sides. You don't really have to show this to your customers. It's actually, we give it to you so that we show it to you. And you can do the test when you want. You've got normally 3 perspex thicknesses. You've got 4.5, the 3.0, which is this one which I've placed here, and the 1.5. But we're going to do it just for the sake of it with the 3.0. Now, you've got the ultrasonic conductive gel, which is essential. The other question that we've got is, well, do you put the ultrasonic conductive gel on the face or the body first, or you put it on the handpiece? It doesn't really matter. Whatever works for you, it does not really matter. And how much do you use? Can you use too much? No, you cannot use too much. If you use too much, actually spills all over the place. That's all you've got to do. This all happens. It doesn't cause any trouble. It's just a bit messy, but then you can actually can get rid of it quite easily anyway, as you'll see in the treatments. And then when you do the treatments, you'll realize it yourself. If you just use a lot of it, you just need to dry it out. So now what we're going to do is just put the ultrasonic conductive gel, and I prefer to put it on the cartridge myself. I'll put on top. Then what I do, this is in order to show the power of the device. I just go maximum plus 50%. Go there maximum. I'll go maximum. And I've got here the cartridge, and we're going to fire it. We're going to put the cartridge, the perspex. And I'm going to go close to the camera, see if I can actually show it quite well. I'm going to try to make it level, and then when I fire it, because it's quite powerful. If I just leave the finger there, it's going to really hurt my finger. So it's really a lot of power in there. So I'm just going to press it down. There you have it. So that is the sort of destructive power that you get. So, and if you touch it immediately after, it's quite what do you call it? It's quite hot. Now we're gonna change the distance. So at the moment the distance is 1.6 millimeters. We're gonna change the distance at 1.0 millimeters. So you're gonna see the difference. So the distance between each spot here is 1.6. You can actually see it, but I can. Now look at the difference here. See whether I can show you on the camera. So that way, yeah, perfect. So you see there's more dots, and they're close to each other because it's 1 millimeter apart from each other. So it's almost as if it's a line. Now what we're going to do now, we're going to change the length. We're going to change that length. So it's 25 millimeter. So if you actually measure it from here, so like from here to there, it's 25 millimeter. Now we're going to change it to 5 millimeters. I'm going to show you what happens. So you've seen it. It's only 5 millimeters. It's only a little bit. I'm going to do it to 10 millimeters. Look, 10 millimeters. There you have it. You could do 15 millimeters. Now I'm going to go 20 millimeters. I'm going to finally go to 25 millimeters. So there you have it. So you've seen the destructive power of this device. This is why it's called a professional device, and is the Hifu Classic. So Hifu Classic, because it's the classic device which is the most user-friendly there is. User-friendly because you change the cartridge and the software tells you roughly where you can and you cannot fire the shots. Also it gives you the counting of the shots, which is quite useful. It's got many different functions, which we have explained. And the other thing to actually talk about is that you see this area here. When I actually press it, This is only dummy. You do not have the visual power. You don't actually visually see the skin. It's just a dummy thing. And it's very, very popular due to its price. This, we're just going to finish off, see whether we've got everything in there. Yes, almost there. We're almost there. I want to touch another topic before we go. Now, we talked about the length here, what it is, so hopefully you do understand what it is, and distance between the dots. Now, we advise everyone to use the minimum distance between the dots and the maximum length whenever possible. It's because the basic concept is that you are willfully causing damage to the skin, to the collagen, and you're causing it at certain depths of the skin. The 4.5, say for example, you can only apply in certain areas of the face because the skin is thick enough only in certain areas of the face. And the same thing applies to the 3.0. Say for example, the 3.0, you cannot actually apply it on the mouth, you cannot apply it on that area, but you can only apply it on this area and this thick area of the face. The 1.5 you can apply almost everywhere, in more areas of the face because it's not as deep. But the good thing about this Hifu, if we look again at this perspex that we have just dented right now, is that the damage, let's have a look, so I can actually show you on the other ones we actually worked on before, which is not gel. The damage here is on the other end of the perspex. We have placed the head here, and if you touch here, it's completely flat. There is no sign of any treatment whatsoever. But if you touch here on the other side, or the outer side, actually, which would be inside the skin, the damage is inside. It's not on the surface of the skin. So basically, you're actually damaging the skin from inside, and you're not causing any damage onto the surface layer. Say, for example, if you use the 4.5, that damage is actually caused at 4.5 millimeter in depth from the top of the skin. 3.0 is only caused at 3 millimeter in depth from the top of the skin. It's not caused below it, it's not caused above it. And if you use the 1.5 millimeter, it's exactly caused at 1.5 millimeters in depth from the skin layer, from the surface of the skin. And the surface of the skin is not injured, so you do not cause any superficial injury. The injuries that you're causing are all internal, all inside the skin at various levels. So at those various levels, you're causing a destruction of tissue, which causes a collagen regeneration and hence a skin rejuvenation and a skin tightening as well. Whereas, say for example, with lasers, that sort of damage is also caused not only inside the skin but also the top layer of the skin, especially with CO2 lasers and other types of lasers. Other types of lasers cause a burn not only inside but also superficially to the skin, so almost all of the skin is affected. In this area, in this way, the main difference between a Hifu and another device is that the damage you're causing is only at those depths that you are working on, and nowhere else, and nowhere else. Say for example with a laser, it doesn't matter if it's a CO2 or a YAG laser or whatever type of laser, when you fire, a certain degree of damage, thermal damage, is being caused to the epidermis anyway. Even if you change the wavelength, a certain amount of energy is being absorbed to by the epidermis, so a certain amount of energy will damage to the epidermis will be made. In this way, whatever you do not target, whatever level you do not target with the Hifu will not be affected by it. So in terms of the use of, in terms of the recovery process, what you've got is the benefit that you do not have to worry about two things: infections and exposure to the sun. because when you do, say for example, laser treatments or a treatment with voltaic plasma or whatever, you cause damage to the upper layer of the skin, and then the UV light can cause hyperpigmentation. Whereas in this case, after a treatment, you can go in the sun, it's no problem. And you cannot cause any infections because you do not open that, you do not cause any damage onto the epidermis. So therefore, any damage, even some bleeding that can happen with Hifus, are all internal, and the injury is not exposed to the external factors. Therefore, there's no risks of infection. So you do Hifu treatment. After you have it done, then you can actually go and do any type of activities that you may want to undergo, you may want to do. And yes, so finally, I think this is it. The other questions that I can remember is, what do I feel during the treatment? You'll actually see it, but basically the treatment is very well felt because it's a powerful device. And the day after, immediately after, you've got a tingling effect which will fade away. Also, you'll get immediately after treatment some redness which will fade away quite quickly. So I think this is all for this device. Should you have any questions, please let us know, and we'll be happy to answer you, especially using WhatsApp. Thank you very much for watching, and again, many thanks to our customers who have made this video possible.